got this all back together. This was the cover part. I had to put some toothpicks and glue in the screw that held the spar down here because the screw was a little bit loose. And then cleaned up, polished that. That's done nicely. I was gonna tune the drone notes, but I was just cleaning them first because I was going to use the masking tape method where you just put a piece of masking tape on it, and I was wiping it down with some naphtha, which is lighter fluid, cigarette lighter fluid, not the charcoal stuff. It's the same stuff as this. Degrease it, and let me see if I have parts to it. And what happened was the reed pushed down. The reed pushed down flat, and it wasn't sounding, so I took the whole thing off and I pushed up on it, because if the reed is too flat, too low in the holding, or if it's too high, it won't sound. So if you ever have a bad note where you're not hearing something, it's because either the reed needs to be pushed up a little bit or not. But when I pushed up on it, it broke. It didn't break completely. At first it just snapped because it was scraped too much close to the mounting of it. You can't really tell from the video, but the person that scraped this originally, I mean, there's just like hack marks all over. I'm just like, I guess that's how they scrape. When I scraped it, what I usually do is I take one pocket knife and I hold it underneath it to hold it. This one, it's mounted in there. Take a bigger pocket knife, but I don't just cut across like that. What I'll do is usually scrape it sideways. It's almost like a polishing type appearance to it. So if I was going to do the end, or if I was going to do the middle part, I would do a big wide scrape like that, almost like a polishing. Like I said, that way you're not doing that. But that's one thing that's not in this book here. This is an excellent book. It's a purple cover, but the color's off on the camera. There's the original cover, the original printing had a scene from India, but that's not in this book. But it was on one of the internet sources that I used. If you over scrape it, that's why on my original harmonium, not this one, but that I tuned, it had not been tuned from the factory, so there's plenty of brass on it. So on that one, which I eventually sold, I was able to scrape it and use the masking tape to get it to fine tune it. But on the reeds on this one, this has already been tuned. It's not perfectly A440, but it's been tuned, and all the scraping marks are they're almost like cuts across it, and just from looking at them I could see that they were scraped a lot. That's why I was only going to use the masking tape on those drone notes. I think the only one that was pretty close was the G sharp, but the second one, the D sharp, was already sounding like a D. That's why I thought it was D until I looked on the actual stamp marking on it. D sharp, DX actually. But so I'm going to try to remake this. Just get a piece of brass and sand it down to the right thickness. I'll have to get my calipers out, and that's just hammer riveted in there. So it's not going to be impossible to remake that. But if I ever come across reeds like that again, where there's obvious tons of marks all over them like that, I'll probably pass on even touching them, just because this one broke so easily. Like I said, I wasn't even trying to tune this one, and it just broke that quickly, and you can't exactly pick these up at your 7-Eleven. So I'm going to hold on to that. And I don't have any other reeds from my other harmoniums for the drone notes. One thing I noticed when I was testing with this coupler, see, with this coupler, you can't just take one key out like a regular harmonium. You have to take them out from this side, unhook the wires underneath, which makes it a little bit longer to work on. Because if you do have a leaking key, a problem with key, you can't just take out that one key like a regular harmonium you could. You kind of have to go back and take from this side. Because I had one key that was leaking after I put them back. It turned out it was a piece of, when I had glued the seals that were loose, a little bit too much glue was causing it to stand up. but a leaking key can sometimes be a crack in the board. I also thought on that particular key the seal was just too close to the hole, so I was going to put a little piece of wood in on the hole to make the hole smaller. But once I saw that the glue was there, I just filed off the glue, and that seemed to fix it. The sticking key that was over here, I didn't really do anything particular because I did all the treatments on all the keys. I just bent the post on it just a little bit to make sure. Another thing I didn't do, which you can do if you have, this is a pretty well made harmonium, if you have ones that have a lot of big gaps and some keys are rubbing together, is to wax in between each key when you take them off. But this was not really, this didn't have that problem, so I didn't do it. I did have a key sticking when I went to the coupler, but all I did was just push that over because there's only one screw holding this block end on. Push that out of the way and it's not sticking anymore. These are nice and comfortable, not super loose, but they're much nicer that you're not having to fight the whole instrument to open up these stops and the drones. What I'm doing here, I still got to put the final piece on here. After I do this, I just need to work on some of the trim on the bottom, add some screws and clean off the tape residue, because the trim, sometimes you're sliding this around, it does have feet on the bottom, but when you're sliding around it wants to put a lot of pressure on that corner trim, wants to rip it off. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all that and maybe even plug some of those holes, but clean it all off, reshape this corner bead trim and put that in. But one thing I've done here, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, is I added just some foam weather stripping pieces, because when you tighten down these screws, what was happening was, went beyond a certain point, it would bend the middle in, and I used to have a harmonium where that was permanently bent like that. So if I put in these two pieces of foam right there, tighten it in, and it should be good and stay in place and look nice, that you're not going past the middle part there. And then I'll give it a wipe down with some guitar polish. A lot of the techniques and stuff I learned, I'm just borrowing from guitar repair too. So, and then the buckles on here, the little latches, I'm going to have to bend them to adjust them to fit inside there. And I think that's going to be it for this one. Another thing I'm going to do is when this is raised and lowered, it makes a squeaky noise. I'm going to put some wax on the edge of this tab on each side, and also I'm going to get some pipe cleaners with some wax and tape off the back side of it, so when I stick it down there, but just to wax the inside of the wood there, so when this is sliding down, it'll slide down a little bit easier. You still want to let the weight, after you push the tabs in, let the weight of the instrument take it down naturally, otherwise you could damage the bellows because there's still air pressure in there. But that's another extra touch, otherwise it makes a loud squeaking noise.